be the lesson. And so we'll go all the way through it. Okay? And when I say actually the lesson, you actually have to submit this one. So this is the one that you're going to submit. So today's science is right here. So I know, well, let's just look. Here's the calendar. Boom, open. And we are on the 15th. And today's science is this little rocket, components working together. So 1003 is what we're working on in science. So I'm going to go to science. And I'm going to go to 1003. It's a pretty short lesson, but it has some important concepts in it and some things that I really haven't studied that much. So it's kind of interesting. Did you know Hawaii was the rainiest place in the United States? It gets enough rain each year to reach the height of a telephone pole. And I think you did know that California's Death Valley is the driest place with only 2 inches of rain a year. That's barely enough to reach your ankles. What is unique about each of these two places that creates such different weather and climate? So today we're going to talk about how all those 6 factors that we've been talking about, air temperature, air pressure, humidity, wind speed, direction, and precipitation, all affect weather in particular places. When the pressure changes, does the humidity change as well? When the winds are blowing, does that affect temperature? Think about how a change in one component of the weather might affect another. I was just out in my backyard and I was in the sun and it was pretty warm. And then I moved around to the front of the house where I was in the shade and there was some breeze and it was freezing. So I think that my experience is, yeah, it absolutely affects other things. The components that make up the weather all affect one another and a change in one will have an effect on one or more of the others. Now, you might be confused about this word effect and affect. You can see it spelled with an A at the top and an E at the bottom. If you affect someone, it's something you do to them. If I affect you, I'm going to push on you. That's going to affect you. And what happens to you is the effect. It's what happens when something affects you. It's kind of tricky. This article gives a bit more detail on how these components work together. So here we go, where weather comes from. Do I have a volunteer who'd like to read this to us today? Anybody? Anybody? If I don't have a volunteer, I'll read it, but I'm not seeing a hand raised. Okay, if you change your mind, let me know. Where weather comes from. Do you ever wonder why the weather is constantly changing? A change in one component of the weather can have a drastic effect on all of the others. Let's take a look at a few examples. Pressure and temperature. As the weather gets colder, the air pressure usually increases. Cold weather makes the air particles more closely packed together, which creates a higher pressure. But they said also it leaves more room for rain. Pressure and wind. When there is a difference in air pressure between 2 regions of air, there will be a wind that blows from the high pressure to the low pressure. So often when the wind comes up, we'll say, oh, there's a pressure system coming in. Air will always move from high pressure to low pressure, no matter the circumstances. A balloon deflates because the air inside the balloon has higher pressure than the air outside. Isn't it the other way around? If it's deflating, isn't the air on the outside pushing harder than the air on the inside? I guess
yeah, I thought so too.
Isn't that kind of strange? I guess that they mean that the higher pressure is adjusting to be the lower pressure by going out. I don't know. Interesting. The greater the difference, the faster the air will move. If the air reaches 100% humidity, it means it cannot hold any more water vapor. If any more water vapor tries to enter the air, it will begin to condense into precipitation. Even when the humidity is high, there's still a good chance of precipitation because anything could cause the amount of water vapor the air can hold to dip unexpectedly. I lived in Mexico in an area that had really high humidity. And the minute you stepped outside, you were covered in water, like your whole body was covered in water. It was the weirdest thing. Well, I guess it was sweat. Use what you've learned from this article to answer each question. When there's no wind, what does that tell you about the air pressure in the area? So we learned that when there's wind, it means there's two different air pressures, right? So if there's no wind, then how many air pressures are there? Probably just one, right? That's all the same pressure. Let's see if we're right. If there's no wind in the area, then the air pressure is low. Interesting and not different. If there is high humidity, what does that tell you about the temperature? Anybody? We learned that cold air packs the temperature, it packs the air molecules together. So there's not much room for humidity. So often it's humid when it's warmer. If humidity is high, then the temperature would be high. The hotter the air, the more water vapor it's able to hold. Okay, we got that one right. If the humidity level reaches 100%, what does that mean for precipitation? It means rain. Rain, rain, rain. We're experts at rain. What's the weather like? The great thing about the weather reports on TV and the radio is that you usually have a reporter helping you make sense of all the data. They tell you whether all these facts and figures add up to pleasant, enjoyable weather or miserable stay inside weather. The weather report you get online will usually provide you the same information, but it's up to you to determine what it means. Let's practice putting some weather pieces together to describe what the weather is like. This weather map shows two very different air pressures. So this H means high pressure, the L means low pressure. So what would we expect to have there? I see mouths moving, but I can't hear your voices. So we're going to have that high pressure trying to blow into the low pressure area, right? So the high pressure is in the north, the low pressure is in the south. That means the wind's going to blow from the high pressure to the low pressure. The air pressure on this map, yep, Christian, go ahead.
Is there going to be an assignment for this?
Yes.
Okay.
The air pressure on this map is causing the wind from the ocean to blow onto the shore. So here's the high, here's the low. Remember, it always goes from the high to the low. Now there's a lot of humidity out there in that high area. When they do, they carry moisture with them. When this air cools down, it can no longer hold all the moisture and clouds start to form. So as this high pressure system moves in, you're going to have some rain on that coast of Florida. Now it's your turn to give it a try. Take a look at these weather reports and describe what they are telling you about the weather. Take a look at each piece of data on these weather reports, determine what it tells you. After you've answered, select the card, flip it over, and see if you're correct. It looks like a low pressure system is moving into the area. What does that mean for the temperature in the region? Is it going to be cool or is it going to be hot? Low pressure systems are usually a little warmer. So it's going to be getting warmer. It's very humid and warm now, but it's supposed to cool off later. What else can we expect this evening? Well, I don't know. In this picture, all I see is this raindrop. So I'm guessing rain. Clouds and rain. Well, that's all you showed us, silly. It says the air pressure will be pretty high for the next couple of days. Can we expect sun or clouds? Remember when the
Clouds.
pressure, well, when the pressure is high, then the molecules are packed together and there's not as much room for precipitation, right?
Clouds.
I think it's the opposite, but let's see if you're right. I think the high pressure system doesn't have as much room for the clouds. I would bet on sun because the high pressure makes it difficult for the clouds to form. So
Dang it.
high pressure, everything's tight. There's no room for those clouds.
Okay.
Okay. Did you know weather maps show air masses? Weather maps are used to show where different regions of air or air masses are coming from, where they're going, and what will happen when the two air masses meet. Air masses are usually defined by air pressure, temperature, and humidity. When warm and cold air masses meet, a boundary or front forms between the two air masses, and this is where interesting weather occurs, to put it lightly. So one interesting thing that's been going on off the coast of Africa is they've had this storm system, and usually storms go through and then leave. This one's been there for a month, you guys, flooding the area and blowing round and round. It's a cyclone. Amazing. Find today's weather report for your area. Make sure it includes as many of the 6 components of weather as possible. Use the information to explain how they're contributing to the weather outside right now. Let's see if we can find our weather report for today. Portland weather report. Portland weather map for today, Oregon. Let's see if we see one. Weather and radar map, the Weather Channel. Here we go. Here's today. Okay, it says expect dry conditions for the next 6 hours. Let's see what this has got on it. It's got a weather reader that will change the weather according to the time, but here's now. Let's hide that menu. Now let's see what else it's got. It's got rain right here. So the green means rain. So you can see some rain coming in. Does it show us any high or low pressure systems, mix and snow? I don't see the pressure. I don't see any air fronts. Today, hourly, 10-day, it doesn't really show us yesterday's weather. It doesn't really show us on this one any fronts, does it? Well, I think the Weather Channel here is not a very good one. Come on, show us some fronts of weather coming in. Let's try this one and see if it's any better. Let's do the interactive radar. See, they don't really show you those fronts that much anymore. They just show you where the rain is. The green is the
I
rain.
think it just made simpler for people who don't know the
I know. I
weather.
think they've dumbed down the weather. They used to have more information.
I remember seeing the ancient era and the weather report on TV.
Where it used to have the fronts and things on there.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV weather very much. And so I don't know. This isn't really doing anything, is it? I don't see our weather. Wind flow. Oh, this shows wind flow, which is kind of interesting. But it's not really showing anything. United States wind flow. Okay, never mind. Let's go back to the lesson. That was a wash. Okay, 5 pages in this lesson. Page 4, what did I learn in this lesson? It's got a review. Oh, look, there's the Grand Canyon. Very dry there. Predicting the weather isn't a guess, it's science. All the different components of weather are connected, and a change in one can trigger a change in them all. But if we know anything, we know that sometimes they do guess because they're wrong sometimes.
I only found a picture of today's low and high pressure.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah.
Share your screen for us.
Yes.
Oh, nice. There it is. So if you look off the coast of Oregon and Washington, we have a front, and the little arrows point the direction it's coming. So we do have a front coming in. We can expect probably more rain. Oh boy. We always have more rain. And it doesn't say whether that's a high or low system, but it does show a front. And anyway, it's probably a high system moving into that low system that's over the Rockies there. Interesting. Nice job. Okay, back to our lesson. Let's take a look. When the temperature drops, what should you expect to happen to the air pressure? Remember that high pressure can't hold much moisture. So what will happen to the air pressure when the temperature gets colder? Things are going to pack together. It can't have moisture. It will become lower when the low system comes in, or warmer. Remember we said that often a low pressure system is warmer. So I'm guessing that the air pressure is going to be higher, but let's see if I'm right. Correct. So as the temperature drops, the air pressure is getting higher. Winds blow faster in high pressure areas than they do in low pressure areas. True or false? That's funny because all they told us is that the high pressure area wants to flow into the low pressure area. So I don't know. I'm guessing that that's false. Do you guys agree? Because I think that it's blowing, into the low pressure. So that's where it's windier. Tricky. All right, time for the 10:03 quiz. So you guys need to go take the end of unit quiz right here. Do you want to do it together? It probably is not in order. Tell you what, if you want to do it on your own, you can leave and do it on your own. If you'd like to do it with me, we can do it together. So if you want to do it on your own, you need to go now. Spoiler alert, Here we go. Question 1. What would you expect to cause a drop in air pressure? So remember, if it's higher air temperature, it's warm and wet. And as it gets lower, it gets cooler and tighter. So if the pressure goes down, oh no, that's wrong. If the pressure goes, if the temperature gets colder, then it gets higher air pressure. So rising air temperature will make the temperature lower, I think. It's confusing. But as the air temperature gets warmer, the air pressure is going to spread out and be lower, not higher. What statement is true about air temperature and humidity? The air temperature does not affect how much moisture the air can hold. That's not true. Hotter air holds less moisture than colder air. That's not true. Hot air and cold air hold the same amount of moisture, or cold air holds less moisture than hotter air. It's that one, isn't it? You guys agree? I'm not sure I got the first one right, but I think I did. Question 3. Which of the following statements is true about wind from the ocean? Wind from the ocean reduces the number of clouds. Well, have you ever been to the Oregon coast? Is it cloudy there a lot? Almost always. My parents have a place at the Oregon coast and it's very cloudy, so I don't think number 1 is true. Winds from the ocean carry more moisture. How about that one? Yeah, I see Nora nodding yes. That water is evaporating from the ocean up into the clouds, and the most moisture is near the ocean. That's why the Coast Range rains all the time. Our coast rains all the time. I think that's true. Winds from the ocean are warmer. If you've ever been to the Oregon coast, actually that's true too, but I don't know, because we talk about maritime temperatures are warmer and winds from the ocean are faster, not necessarily. I don't know, because both 2 and 3 are pretty much right, but I guess not all winds from all oceans are warmer. Jenna notices, I'm going to see how I do on this test. I don't even know if I'm going to get it right. What is that thing that you have, Nora?
Oh,
Scary.
wait, this thing?
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, it's like a massager.
What happened?
It's like marbles here and it like,
Okay,
yeah.
just don't electrocute yourself with it. Jenna notices that the speed of the wind has increased throughout the day. So we're getting more and more wind, which probably means a higher pressure system is flowing into the lower area, the lower pressure. So there has been no precipitation. Nah. The difference in air pressure has decreased. Nah. The difference in air pressure has increased. I think that's it. The direction of the wind has changed. No. Number 5, what happens to the humidity if the temperature drops and the amount of moisture in the air stays the same? So if the temperature drops and the air squishes and it's got water in it, what's going to happen to that water? Yeah, go ahead, Nora.
The humidity increases.
Well, the thing is, if the temperature drops, then the air pressure is going to get tighter and it's going to squeeze it, right? So the humidity isn't going to be able to stay in the air. It's going to have to rain or something to get rid of some of that humidity.
Decreases.
I think it's decreases, but the funny thing is it really just leaves the air, right? What happens to the humidity if the temperature drops? The humidity decreases. Because remember that the higher pressure has less humidity in the air. Jennifer observes a weather map showing tomorrow's weather. She predicts the air will travel from the low pressure system to the high pressure system, causing wind. You guys agree?
No, doesn't it travel from the high to the low?
Yep. Choose the statement which corrects the error in Jennifer's prediction. The wind from the ocean will not carry moisture. The wind will travel from the high pressure system to the low pressure system.
Ta-da!
So Since the low pressure system is not over land, wind will not be created, and wind is only created when two high pressure systems meet. No. How are humidity and precipitation related? When humidity is low, the chance of precipitation is high. I see no. When humidity is high, the chance of precipitation is high. I see some thumbs up. When humidity is high, the chance of precipitation is low. Changes in humidity do not cause precipitation. Haley woke up to a hot and humid day, but knows it's going to be cool off later. What should she expect the weather to be like tonight? It's hot and humid. It's going to get cooler and that pressure is going to increase. What's going to happen? It will most likely rain because cool air cannot hold as much moisture as warm air. You guys agree? I see some nodding.
Yeah.
It will most likely snow on a hot, humid day. I don't think so. It will most likely be sunny and warm because the weather's going to stay the
It
same.
will most likely rain.
Yeah, I think it'll most likely rain. In a few sentences, describe what this weather map tells you about the weather. Well, what do you guys think? Somebody tell me something about this. This map tells me, whenever you're writing an answer, you should look at the question. What does this weather map tell you about the weather? This tells me that the air in the high pressure system will try to go to the low pressure system. What will this cause? This will cause the weather to become what? What's going to happen? Is it just going to be a calm and clear day? What happens when that air flows from one pressure system to another? What does that create? Not sure, friends? I'm not looking in the chat. Maybe there's something in the chat. Anybody? What does that create? When air flows from a high pressure system to a low pressure system, it creates wind. Uh-oh. Wind. Oh, I just wrote it into the chat instead of into the into this. Windy. This will cause the weather to become windy. There we go. Let's see what the prompt said. In a few sentences, describe what the weather map tells you about the weather. This map tells me the air. Okay, this map shows both a high and low pressure system. This map tells me that the air in the high pressure system will try to go to the low pressure system. That will cause the weather to become windy. All right. Question 10. The relative humidity is 100%. Yuck. And the temperature is hot. In a few sentences, explain how the weather would change if the temperature drops and becomes cool. So again, use the words from the sentence. You can even copy them and paste them to start your answer. If the temperature drops and becomes cool, then the air will not be able to hold all that humidity. As the pressure increases, it will push the water out, creating precipitation. Did I spell it right? Precipitation. Okay. In other words, as it cools, it will rain. Submit quiz. Let's see how we did. I don't know. Do they show us the answers? 14 out of 20. Oh, because I didn't grade the last ones yet. Correct answers are hidden. Why are they hidden? I must have pushed the wrong buttons on this one, you guys. Sorry, it should show you your answers. I'll go fix it. Not graded yet, not graded yet. So 2 points there, 15, 16, 17, 18. That means we did get one wrong. I wonder which one. Oh, wait, there it is. What happens to the humidity if the temperature drops and the amount of moisture in the air stays the same? Well, if the amount of moisture in the air stays the same, then I guess the humidity stays the same. I didn't read that one very carefully. I think this one on question 5, it should say the humidity stays the same because they said the amount of moisture in the air stays the same. Okay, the rest of them are right. I'm going to stop my share. Nora, question?
The true answer is humidity increases.
Really?
Yeah, because I did the test and I got a 20 out of 20.
Oh, really? And the humidity increases? How does it increase if they said it stays the same?
I'm not sure. I
Does it
didn't.
just press it tightly together so it measures as higher? That's interesting. I don't
I'm
really.
not sure, but I
understand
took the test a lot of times.
that.
So-
You got the right answer?
Yeah.
Silly Billy. Okay. All right. Well, you guys, that's it for today. Make sure you take that quiz and submit it. Science 1003. And does anybody have any other questions for me? Okay. Yes, Javen.
For me, I couldn't really get what you were saying.
Well, you can read the chapter and you can look through it again and try your best. They're just talking about how, think about this. High pressure is really tight. It's packed together, squished, right? Think about squeezing your hands together. Could you hold much water in your hands when they're squeezed together like that? No. So knowing that cold makes molecules packed together tightly, so cold air is higher pressure and it doesn't hold as much water. And then as the lower pressure opens up the molecules, there's room for more water. So the places in the world like the equator where it's like a hot tropical jungle, those have low pressure and the low pressure holds a lot of humidity or water in the air. Does that
Okay.
make sense? So thinking about that. So as the temperature gets colder, it squishes the air, forcing the humidity out, causing it to rain. Also,
Okay.
if you have a high pressure system like inside a balloon and you open the balloon up, what's that air going to do? It's going to rush out of the high pressure into the lower pressure. So it just wants to go to the easiest place. So if high pressure air can get out, it's going to get out. So if you puff your cheeks up right now, now squeeze them. Oh, the air is going to get out, right? That's the high pressure going to the lower pressure. So it causes a wind as the high pressure blows into the low pressure. Okay?
Okay. What if the
Any
low
other
pressure
questions?
goes into the high pressure?